be quick, and very simply, I am looking at the big issues around business messaging. And this is another session kindly sponsored by business messaging provider Intis Telecom. Now, I'm just going to start off with a couple of observations. And first of all, from the last session, sustainability, I would argue that actually a lot of what the people in this room are doing has contributed so much to sustainability, and that piece of paper falling off the wall absolutely agrees, insofar that if you think about today, how many of us receive, for example, PIN reminders in the post regularly? So whenever we needed a reminder, it had to be sent to us in the post. How much did that cost the bank or the credit card issuer? Sorry, standing in the way. How much did that cost the bank or credit card issuer? Well, the answer would be, it's probably going to be a couple of pounds, a couple of euros, a couple of dollars a pop. And now look what we can do. With one SMS costing whatever it might be 5 or 6 euro cents in Germany, it might be 3 pence in the UK, we can actually deliver that content. We can save the enterprise a stack load of money, but also we save the environment all within it. So I would say that's an observation from the last session. We in the business messaging world, this is exactly how we are contributing to sustainability. And with 5G coming along, just drawing on from some other sessions we've had today, with 5G coming along, the potential is enormous. There was a report from a research organisation in the UK called YouGov, Y-O-U-G-O-V. Now, traditionally, they come from a research angle, reporting and researching on the British government, but they've expanded. They do research in so many different areas. They actually did research on consumers' attitudes to 5G all around the world. The average person on the street, whether you be in the UK, you be in Sweden, you be in the Netherlands, you be in Austria, wherever. And the results for me were rather astounding, because I was putting this event together. We have the 5G panel looking at 5G and looking at the impact on messaging. I'm also putting together an event called Digital Transformation, which is coming along on the 18th and 19th of July. And we have many IoT-related sessions, and of course 5G. I say of course, I'll explain why. 5G is going to be coming up there. And what really shocked me about the results of this rather large survey from YouGov was that the majority of people in countries this part of the world actually don't care about 5G. It was like in the UK, I think it was 18% of people actually thought, oh, do you know what? 5G is going to be great. It's going to be something positive. Whereas if you move to Asia, Thailand, Malaysia, countries like that, those percentages were hitting 60, 75 and upwards. So there's a real disconnect going on here. But 5G, in terms of sustainability, I think is going to be something great. But I didn't actually want to talk about that and bring that on. What I did want to talk about, to start off with, is the whole area of omni-channel business messaging. So many people have mentioned the word omni-channel today, but does anyone in this room actually know where omni-channel came from, the concept, the idea, without Nick Lane on your computer going to Google now? Does anyone know at all? Any ideas? I can see a few people thinking. No, okay, so very simply, it was a retail consultant, I think his name was Darryl Rigby, and he was a retail consultant, came up with this idea 12 years ago in 2010, thinking, wow, imagine if the customer experience of someone going into a clothing store, and imagine if they could try something on, imagine if they could envision having the matching pair of shoes, etc., the whole experience beginning to end in a seamless way. And he coined that phrase, omni-channel, and that article appeared in the Harvard Business Review in 2011. We have since been using that to talk about omni-channel. Now, the reality today is that very few companies around the world can truly deliver omni-channel. Most deliver multi-channel. Omni-channel is super, super hard to deliver. And it is, I think, ultimately something that any company of any size would benefit from. But we're going to be looking at this tomorrow. How do we make sure small and medium-sized businesses of all sizes can take advantage of the wonderful solutions companies in this room, I'm just looking at the people here and the companies you represent, some of the largest in the whole world, can actually take advantage of. So this is just my personal opinion on the topic. And finally, one thing, and I'm going to ask you another question, constantly coming up in research, and I've looked at this again and again over the years, what is the number one thing consumers of anything, anywhere in the world, value? What is the number one thing? Is it the quality of the product? What is it? Keith?
Good experience.
Good experience. Anyone else?
Satisfying the need.
Satisfying the need. Okay, the answer is time, their time. That is the number one answer, time and again. It's they want their time to be appreciated and valued. And again, research has also been done. There's this idea around that people today, and this is what we've got to understand in the world of business messaging, and this is what so many of you out here are addressing today already, that the average person, certainly in, if you want to call it the developed world, they feel busier than ever before. They feel under pressure. They feel I'm working harder than ever. My commute is as long as ever. And they feel under stress and under pressure. But again, is that perception or is it reality? Now, a ton of research has been done in this area, and it's actually found it's perception. Because the reality is most people are not suddenly busier than they were 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. They still have to work, they still have to contribute to the growth of the family, whatever it may be, but it's a perception. But at the end of the day, we in the business messaging industry have to understand and appreciate that whilst it may technically be a perception, we've got to be responsive to that. So the key thing is time, whatever we are all doing with business messaging, anything we can do to save the individual's time is absolutely amazing. So there's just a few opinions from me. And now, just for the last few minutes of this, I would like some opinions and ideas from you. Has anybody here got any opinions on what you would think are the real important issues in business messaging today? We may have covered it already, we might be covering it, but if anybody has anything, just let me know, and please don't be shy. Anybody? Yes, thank you. We've got someone in here. It wasn't a plant either.
Yeah, saving you, James, here. No, I think one of the biggest issues that we keep on bumping into is it only keeps on getting more complicated. More channels, more registration processes, more documents, more and more and more of facets that need to be taken into consideration whenever you're trying to provide some sort of a service, be it omni-channel, multi-channel. Even in messaging, even that keeps on getting more complicated with more registries, more templates, bifurcation, everything else. So one of the things that really seems to be, for me, the biggest issue is it keeps on getting more complicated for businesses to try to come on board and try to truly get a seamless experience. You need to try more and more to try to make things simpler, but it's constantly going against the tide.
But how do we do this as an industry? How do you do it? For example, at Macente, where you're the Chief Connectivity Officer, if you're an enterprise, it's very tempting to say, hey, we can offer SMS, we can offer RCS, WhatsApp business messaging, probably 6, 7 channels, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, you can bamboozle someone, you can confuse someone, and they end up going, do you know what? I'll carry on using email like I always have.
Yeah, well, quite often what we try to do is first try to understand what's the end goal of the company itself, what they actually want to do, instead of going in saying, these are all the things we have. First try to understand what are you actually trying to do, and then seeing whether or not we can support it with one thing or another, trying to make it as easy as possible to convert to something new. Even if it's something along the lines of, let's do a pilot project and we'll help you develop a piece of it. We'll help you do something with it. You know, the more we try to get better at this industry, and the more we try to bring in new enterprises and new companies, the more we realize that every single time we come in with something that seems valuable to us, be it, for example, rich messaging, we're always fighting for development resource of the enterprise. We're not the only cool thing on their portfolio or in their sort of line of development. There's 10 other cool things there. So why would they choose us? It's the idea of understanding what we need to do, what's the minimal viable product that we can deliver that's the easiest, simplest, but still have an impact.
Yeah. Mariola, we're touching your hair. Was your hand up? Yeah.
I'll bring this over to you.
I was actually thinking about another concern because of course, we have lots of different, I think complexity is definitely one, but I also think that pricing is the second one. We don't have an alignment with pricing, and actually, after all this discussion about flash calls, I have just one reflection, that we're trying to develop messaging business, and of course, all aggregators, mobile operators, we have some type of cost, and we try to cater to the brand demands. And I think when we look at the statistic, the spending on the digital marketing this year for brands has dropped by about 20%. Yet we are trying to legitimize those flash calls, cannibalize on the messaging, and put the bargain on mobile operators to purchase firewall for voice, incur extra cost to pay for this cannibalization, and to be able to monetize something that will be also immaterial. So I think this is quite a contradictory thing and a problem.
As you said, it's down to the commercial model, and I just happened to have a session about that. It's at the end of day 2 to close the event. It's that important. Yeah, thank you. Anybody got anything else? Dario.
Oh, Derek. Couldn't see you there.
You heard a lot of me, so instead I wanted to share some of the stats. Listening to you, I didn't know what he was talking about. But we are going to publish, I think this week or next week, our consumer 8th consumer trust study. And I thought there was something not just from YouGov, but from us. It's not just 5G. There seems to be a growing concern from the users about some of the technologies, and some of the technologies we deliver. So starting with social network, I've never seen social networks so divided now in the opinions. 34% of our users worldwide have got a negative view of social networks, and 34% equal have got a positive one. So it's the first time which is kind of a word is divided into 3 camps. And so I can see that as, and some of the conversational commerce discussions we're having are partly about the use of this platform. Yet users are not too happy. What about AI? Right now, I think it's 28% of people have got a negative use of AI, and 20% have got a positive one. Well, maybe there's use cases, there's something else, but we still have more resentment somewhere with some of the big discussions. So it's not 5G. And you could go on and on about some of the things we're seeing here. So maybe as an industry, there is a bit of internal, awareness or approach to the users. It doesn't seem to be very fair, or they don't seem to be very excited in the future that we design for them.
Yeah, very good point. Anyone got anything else?
So download reports on the mobile ecosystem.
So yeah, it's a shameless plug. Very, very good, please. And of course, as MEF members, you get access to the full report on the member resources area. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Any comments? Anything? No. Well, do you know what I'm going to do? I may break with a little bit of convention, but I may nominate a couple of people who might be up for it. Mr. Lane, you surely, yes, that's you, sir, sitting over there, camera on this person over there. You surely must have some input on this topic. For you, the big issues, because I know you're going to be on the jury at the end of the day, so I'm excited about that. So I'm going to hear your personal opinion on some issues for the first time. You're not just simply revealing your research and the aggregated answers from everyone else, but from your personal opinion. So what for you are the key issues? Anything we've missed so far?
Can I say no? You haven't
Yes,
missed
you
anything?
can, and that would that means I've Got 20 seconds. Used. I've still got more time to go.
There's lots of big issues. I mean, I think in terms of SMS, it's just not sexy, and that's a big problem, which is why a lot of businesses don't use it, because they don't really understand, I guess, the power of its engagement, but more and more businesses are starting to do it in terms of rich messaging. Obviously, we've mentioned about the complexities, but I think there's a lot of mismarketing, miscommunication around that as well. So you can't say, for example, you can connect to 2.2 billion people with WhatsApp, because you can't, just because you signed a piece of paper. Sorry, David, earlier. And he's not here to defend himself. But you can't do that. You know, so there's lots of complexities, lots of issues, and there's lots of hurdles. But the beauty of the mobile industry, and we're saying this at lunchtime, is that we create hurdles because then we create subsets of industries to address those hurdles.
This is
and
what
then we move
Mariola
on.
was saying. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, other than pricing, etc., blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Excellent. Louise Ford, Managing Director of Impello.
Well, I was going to say trust, safety and fraud, which is what we're speaking about next. And talking of subsets of industries and complexity, I think that's a big issue.
We are, absolutely. Very, very soon, actually. We have a question coming from the back. If you could introduce yourself, please, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Talking about concerns. You're talking about concerns and challenges, yeah?
Yeah.
So my name is Helena Manchevska, I'm from KPN. Regarding RCS, I would like to express my concern. It's the support of the native client on the device. We all say RCS is 5G standard, but the practice says that not many device manufacturers support it natively, and it leads to fragmentation.
It does. That's a fact. Anybody, Jason from Cisco here to respond.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few things that have been mentioned, but for me, a lot of them come around quality of service. You know, whether that's supportability for RCS or if that's grey routing of messages that happen, that quality has to improve. You know, if we want to give the experience to consumers and to enterprises to get the returns they expect, we have to increase that quality of service through whatever means.
Unsurprisingly, there's a panel for that kind of thing. We'll be talking about that. But do enterprises really care about quality at the end of the day if they've got a 2FA, something to be delivered, or does it really come down to the commercial model and the price, that trade-off? That's the thing. There's a lot of talk about quality. We want quality routing, quality this, quality that. But at the end of the day, when the carrot of a super low price to a usual expensive destination, for example, in the world of SMS, is dangled, it can be quite hard to ignore. So, yeah, we'll be talking about that. So that's it. Just a quick 30 minutes to recap on many of the issues we've covered today, a few little random facts in there. Hopefully that's been interesting. And we are now going to be talking about trust.